Hi, and welcome to the Stop Chasing Skinny podcast, where every single Tuesday we interview a new guest to talk about topics to help you craft your own fit life. The title Stop Chasing Skinny comes from my own personal tagline of life begins when you stop chasing skinny. You see, I spent many years running many miles, taking many classes, and trying many diets, but none of those worked. So finally, I got down to the business of understanding what really matters. And it's not just about how much exercise you can do or how little you can eat. It's everything else that goes into it. So I created this podcast to help you so you can craft your own fit life. Every single Tuesday, you can listen to an interview with a guest, and now every Friday, you can listen to me a second time, where I take questions you have sent to me, and I spend about 15 minutes answering them. You can even feed your brain this nourishing brain food by listening while you're cooking, commuting, cleaning, walking the dog, or just about anything else, because that is how we craft a fit life. So let's get on with the show. And today's guest is Sandy Bredeson. Sandy and I know each other through a networking group that I'm in called BNI. And if you're not familiar with BNI, it's a really great networking organization, the top of the top. I have met some of the most amazing people in there. So I met Sandy, and she sells essential oils. I thought that was super awesome because I've been hearing about essential oils kind of nonstop for the past couple years. I personally had purchased some from places like Whole Foods, basically because I liked what the label said. I didn't really know how to use it, what it did. It smelled good to me. I thought I couldn't go wrong. So, and then past few years, a lot of people have been talking about essential oils. So I thought it'd be really great to bring Sandy on so that she could talk about what to look for, what to avoid, why they're good. I feel like a lot of things are just kind of being sold and you're not quite sure, like, well, what is sales and marketing and what is really valuable information that I can use right now. So, welcome, Sandy. Thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Yay. So, go ahead. I want you to talk a little bit about your background with the oils and kind of how you got into it.
Oh, perfect. I got into the oils for personal reasons. I went to bed, I had nothing on my hand, woke up, I had an ulcer the size of a dime, and it turned out to be cancer. Long story short, I had to have Mohs surgery, and my question was, what is going on inside me that this will pop up overnight? And so I decided I had to be more proactive because I wasn't getting the answers that I wanted, and started doing some research. I found online that cancer institutes were looking at frankincense because it has anti-cancerous properties. And that intrigued me enough to start researching where can I find the best quality of essential oil. If I'm going to spend my money, I wanted to spend it on what I considered the best.
That's awesome. So, which leads me right into my very first question that I want to talk about because I feel like this is on the top of everybody's minds. I know it was on mine. What are some things that we want to look for? So maybe if you could share like the top 5 red flags when it comes to buying essential oils, because just like everything else in life, not everything is created equal.
True. I consider the biggest red flag is that here in the US, the FDA considers essential oils to be supplements. Therefore, they're not regulated, and so what goes in them is not regulated. Companies can put fillers and not disclose what those fillers are. They can be very diluted, and most of what I find on the store shelves are actually a pure synthetic. So I'll say 100% pure, but it's 100% pure synthetic. A plant may have grown organically, but if the company used harsh chemicals to distill that plant, then that kills the health properties. So you basically have a lovely scent, same as perfume. I find as one gets used to quality oils, they can start smelling the fakes fairly easy. The nose gets used to smell.
That's interesting that you say that. So I want to revisit all of these, but that we're just going to talk about right now because that was one of the things I thought was really interesting whenever you first talked to me about this, and you were saying, yeah, in the beginning, you also bought oils from places like Whole Foods or just on the internet or whatever, until you started getting really good quality stuff, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute, I can tell the fake from the not instantly.
That was very eye-opening for me as well. I did buy some oils at some different stores even before I had this cancerous issue, because I like the smell of them.
Yeah, me too.
And so then when after I started buying quality oils and I revisited those oils, I went, oh, why did I think this smelled good? And in fact, I was at a fair a couple of years ago, and I was walking by, and some guy was squirting, oh, this is an essential oil, and it just was not a pure, it was synthetic. I couldn't even stand the smell of it.
Yeah.
And he was amazed when I said, you know what, that smells awful, keep it away from me.
It's true though. Once you spot the really good stuff, and for anybody who's listening, if you've given up artificial sweeteners and then tried to eat something or drink something that has an artificial sweetener in there, oh my gosh, it comes out of your mouth so fast. It's gross. Mm-hmm. So I would think it would be the same with how the smells are.
It is. Our body is very smart.
Yeah, right? So, okay, so let's go back just a little bit to the FDA not regulating this stuff, because we talk about this on the Stop Chasing Skinny podcast on a regular basis in terms of supplements. And a lot of people don't realize that there's not a lot of regulation on things that are considered supplements. And exactly what you said, there can be fillers in there. Things can be made synthetic. They can hide behind the whole law structure of its trade secrets. So they don't have to put all of these different ingredients even on the label, correct?
Correct. And the only time the FDA gets involved is if there's a lot of health claims, or you take this pill and you will be young forever type thing, then they'll start stuff. With the marketing. Then they'll step in. But as far as what's in the actual product, you're on your own.
Yeah, you really are. I mean, same thing with any supplements. That's where we talk about getting your supplements from a really reputable place, not like Costco, typically. So let's talk about so you talked about how here in the United States, the FDA does not regulate it. Nobody regulates it, really. So what about like other countries?
That's a good point. Other countries have very high standards. So let's take France, for instance. In France, aromatherapy is so prevalent that doctors can prescribe aromatherapy, and insurance companies pay for aromatherapy.
Wow.
So they have higher standards on what they consider pure. There's a lot of things that the U.S. can't import into Europe because of their standards are so high.
So one of those red flags would be like if the oils cannot be sold outside of the U.S.
Exactly.
Okay. So do you see that? Like if you Google something for essential oils, do you see that there are a lot of companies that maybe only sell in the U.S.?
I have seen that. One thing that I have been asked is, since I do know a lot about essential oils, that people will say, hey, check out this website and tell me what you think of this brand. And so I'll scour the website, and one company had in red, bold, all over through their website, not allowed to be sold out of the U.S. To me, that was a huge red flag.
That's great, because I think a lot of people would maybe just assume, well, like it's so good it can only be sold in the U.S., right? So it's a common misconception.
It is. A lot of people think that the FDA is here to protect us, and in a sense they are, but there's a lot of misconception when it comes to supplements. They don't realize that there is no regulation, that you do have to do your homework. Yeah,
and like you said, even like with the supplements that you take, like shakes or pills or whatever, unless there are a lot of health claims, like they're not going to pull that off the market.
Exactly.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about, so how many did we list right there?
That was probably 2.
That was 2. Okay, let's keep going.
Okay. I have seen also when I was researching some websites, I've seen them talk about third-party testing. And they'll talk about how great third-party testing is. But nowhere on their website do they talk about that their oils have actually been third-party tested.
So they're just leaving it up to the consumer to like put that together and make the assumption, and they're covered legally.
Right. So they talk about how great essential oils are, but they don't say that our oils are tested and this is what we found and this is the process it goes through. And so there really has to be a lot of investigation and just really reading between the lines when you look at these websites.
Yeah, and that's a great point that you just said about reading between the lines. It takes somebody who's been doing this research for a bit of time to actually be an expert. I see that all the time where people are like, I'm an expert. Well, you became an expert overnight. And experts don't become experts overnight. They become experts over time and putting in the effort. And that's where that's where you see between the lines. That's where it goes from being like this huge forest of information down to seeing all of the little intricacies.
Yes.
So keep going, my expert.
Yes. Okay. Another thing on the websites that I found is they're not professional looking at all. It looks like somebody just slapped it together using a free website or maybe paid somebody $5 to put it together. There are misspellings. I think that that to me is a red flag.
Yeah, if you can't get your website right, your process on refining oils in a healthy way is probably not very right either. Quality control is in question.
Exactly. It needs to be a company that's top-notch all the way, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Another would be, how are the plants grown? How are they harvested? What is the company's process in distilling the plants, storing the oil? Usually there's a time period before the oils are bottled. So are they grown locally? Are they grown internationally? There's a lot of different questions that play into that.
One of the examples, could you share with us, because I thought this was really interesting when we talked the first time about this, was there's a specific oil that you were talking about, and you were saying that the standard time for this plant to get to maturity is like 18 months. But some companies decide to go ahead and harvest it at like just a few months because obviously time is money. And so can you share that story?
Sure. It's a plant called vetiver. And it grows, a lot of people source this oil from Haiti.
Okay.
And they do want a quick turnaround. Mm-hmm. And it does take 18 months for the plant to be mature. And it comes from the root of the plant, so they have to pull the plant up. So it takes a long time for this particular plant to grow, to have the best chemical constituents. And that is part of the testing that goes in, if it's quality oil, that they have tested that the constituents of that plant are consistent along the way. So what you get today is going to be the same as what you buy next year.
And that's a good point, too, because we were talking about the third-party testing. So if a company is saying they did third-party testing, well, there was third-party testing that proved that the results from this particular plant is amazing, right? But they didn't follow the same process to get these results. Like, that's the reading between the lines part, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And same with distillation. You can distill with harsh chemicals, and that's what the perfume companies normally do, is because perfume is a type of essential oils that comes from plants. So they don't care how the plants are grown. They'll grow it with chemicals to make it grow very quickly. And then they use chemicals to distill them very quickly. Well, that's going to kill the health properties. They still have the lovely scent, and that's what you buy perfume for. Most people buy essential oils because they want more of a health property. Yeah. And so it needs to be at a low heat, and the longer time, you'll get a better concentration. And here again, some companies try to make shortcuts because time is money.
Yeah.
And that is their motive in not having the purest quality of oil that they can have.
Yeah, and that makes sense. So we've talked about how heat, I'm sure heat is used in some of these less than desirable practices. We've talked about heat impacts like even the cooking oils that we use, so it can change the molecular structure to make it even damaging to you. Not only does it make it not healthy or like not beneficial, but now it's actually damaging. So that's an important thing to note.
Exactly. And a quality oil, on their website, they'll talk about testing and the processes that the testing goes through. So you become educated, that you feel comfortable knowing that, yes, this is something I want to use on my body.
Yeah, super important. So I think we have one more left.
Oh, another red flag that a lot of people ask me about is, can I take these oils internally? And I know that's a big controversy, because even with quality oil, some people say you should never take oils internally. I kind of fall back on, well, we've been using oils for centuries, and they've been used internally for centuries. And I also fall back on, whatever you put on your skin, your body,
it's going in your body.
It's going in your body. Your skin is the same material as your large intestine. So when you think about that, when you put the oils on it, or anything that you put on your skin, your body is ingesting that, and it's eventually going through your bloodstream. The nice thing about it is it's diffusing as it goes, rather than straight. But a lot of oils, say like lavender, for instance, have been used in cooking, and a lot of different lavender lemonade's very popular. And our bodies are used to it. These are century years old oils. There's 800 references in the Bible to oils.
Wow.
And so modern medicine is only 200 years old. So if an oil says for topical use only, and it should be an oil that should be ingested, say like lemon.
Yes.
Well, why is this only topical? What is in it that I can't put in my water and drink?
That's a great point. Oh, man. These are awesome. Cool. So we're going to have to take a really quick break, and we'll be right back. Hey, when's the last time you checked out the SK Fit Life recipes? We have a really great collection. Some of our own, some of others. Check them out. There's a whole library waiting for you. And welcome back. All right, so now that we know where to watch out for, or what to watch out for when we're purchasing essential oils, you've mentioned a few different oils here, which I think are super interesting. What are your top 5 essential oil essentials? So what do you recommend, and why?
Okay, well, this week, and I'll have to preference this week,
Yep.
because I change.
Yeah.
My body changes, different things happen, environment changes, and so what I really like this week may be different next month.
Yeah, that's a great point, because I used to seek out like stress relief oils when I was super stressed with my corporate job, and now I look for like I love the In Tune one that you talked about, like just helping me concentrate and things like that. So yeah, go ahead.
Yes, that's a good one. One that I continually love though is a blend, and it's called Balance. And I'm a woodsy girl, and it has a lot of woodsy smells to it.
Okay.
And some people might be more citrusy or flowery, so it's all personal preference. But this one to me is very refreshing and calming at the same time.
Okay.
And just as the name suggests, it just helps balance my mood throughout the day. A lot of stress could be happening, and I'm just sailing through.
Yeah.
Because everything's balanced. I'm not either too stressed or low energy. I'm just even keel, and it's very calming. So it's a good oil for me to use before bedtime.
Yeah.
For a nice restful night.
Yeah, I think most of us need more balance and rest anyway. Like, I don't know that we actually need more energy. We just need to chill out. Go ahead.
Another blend that I like is Breathe, and just opening this bottle and just taking a whiff straight from the bottle in the morning is like, oh, hello, I'm awake.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that because I think even just seeing the label on the bottle will remind you to take a deep breath. There's a place down the street from me, and every time I drive by it, it says, remember to breathe. And it's like an acupuncture place or something. But every time I see it, I'm like, I can't help it. So there's dual purposes there. Sorry, go ahead.
Exactly. Everybody that I've introduced this particular blend to expresses that they just can breathe easier, whether they're all stuffed up, have a cold, or even if they don't, they just feel like, oh, that was a deep breath, and I haven't taken a breath that deep in a long, long time.
So I will bring this back to fitness real quick, sorry, but I talk a lot about how a lot of times we overeat because having our stomachs very full puts pressure on our diaphragms. And it's those deep breaths, that deep breathing, that actually gives us so much stress relief. So I always say, too, if I feel like I'm going to overeat because I'm all stressed out, if I just start doing some deep breathing, I can bypass the food part and get rid of the stress.
Oh, that's a good point.
There we go.
That is a good point. And so I love this one. I'm feeling like I'm getting stuffed up. Mm-hmm. It just helps clear the sinuses.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
And frankincense, of course, because of my issues. And it is actually the king of all oils. Okay. So if you're confused on what oil to use, it's a good starting point.
Real quick, too. Sorry, it might seem like I'm all over the place, but I want to talk about the frankincense oil, what we talked about before, about how you'll never find frankincense for like $5.
Exactly.
This goes back to the red flags. So
it does go back to the red flags. Yes, a quality frankincense oil. Frankincense comes from the sap of the tree, and once they harvest the sap, it dries into resin. Well, they can only slash the tree 2 times a year.
Okay.
Otherwise, they'll kill the tree, and it's very hard to get to. It's mostly grown on the sides of cliffs, and there's nice, lovely vipers that live in the trees.
Awesome.
So. And it usually comes from Oman, Somalia, a place, that type of environment. Okay. So if you see a bottle of frankincense on a store shelf for $5, you know that it's not quality frankincense. It's probably synthetic because it is a more desirous oil, and it is an oil that just takes some loving care to get. It's not like lemon that could be harvested all year round.
Okay. Perfect.
And one thing that I have found when I was doing my research on frankincense is that I read a research report saying that it is an oil that can actually pass through the blood-brain barrier.
Okay, this is good information. Go ahead.
Yes. And so it helps with mood control and memory.
Okay.
So it is a very important oil.
And that's another thing, too, like that's really important because that blood-brain barrier, like if something is getting in there, you want it to be good quality. Exactly.
It's there for a reason. Our body, it wants to protect our brain. And so if it can pass through that, it needs to be an important thing.
Yes.
Lavender. I love lavender. I'm, like I said, a woodsy girl, not a flowery girl, so it's not my very favorite fragrance, but I love what it does for me. Okay. Most people think that it's just for calming and anxiety, which it is, but I'm a very fair-skinned girl, and so if I get sunburnt, I burn, I don't tan, and I'll put that on overnight, I'm done. The next morning, I don't have a sunburn. It's very soothing for my skin. Yeah. Yes. Anytime I have bruises or cuts or scrapes, if I have a cut, I'll put it right on. It doesn't sting. It helps heal the skin. It helps with skin irritations. Okay. And so it's a very lovely oil for a lot of different things. And also bug bites.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense because you calm it down.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Sure. Lemon. I love lemon. I put a couple of drops in my water every morning at least, sometimes throughout the day. It's a detox.
Yeah.
It's a cleanser. We even use it for cleansing our homes, but it also can cleanse our body, and it also helps with digestion.
Yeah.
And everybody knows what citrus does for colds, and so it's a good oil to have on hand.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's definitely. I wasn't surprised when you put that in your top 5. Oh, awesome.
Okay, and one thing I do want to point out is that most people don't realize that the oils are just a tool.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Okay, nothing heals the body but the body, so it depends on what tool you give. And it's a great tool to utilize. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, if you have something very serious going on, I'm not saying don't go to a doctor.
Right. It's sad that we have to preface this all the time, but we do, right? You still go to your doctor, but this is going to help you.
Exactly. And so just find a good quality tool to utilize with. How they differ than the things you might have in your medicine cabinet is those things aren't designed to heal us. They're designed to mask a symptom. So you have to ask yourself, do I want to mask this symptom, or do I actually want to heal what's going on inside me? And if that's the case, then what tool am I going to use? And the essential oils have had the test of time, as I have said before. And the body is really in charge of what is going on.
Okay.
So sometimes people will say, well, the oil didn't do what I wanted it to do. Well, your mind is not in charge. It's your body that's in charge. Maybe something's going on in your body that you don't even know yet. Your mind hasn't manifested itself yet.
Yeah.
But your body will use that oil as it needs to. So just trust the oils. And if you've chosen the wrong oils, you've still done something positive for your body.
That's a good point.
Yes.
You can't go wrong. Basically, you can't, other than maybe choosing a toxic oil.
Exactly.
Through the wrong source. But yeah, it sounds like you really, you kind of can't go wrong with that.
Right. Just check in with your body. I find that using the oils helps people become more aware of their body. Mm-hmm. In this day and age, a lot of people aren't aware of what's going on in their body because they're so in their mind.
Yeah.
And,
I see it all the time.
They don't realize that their body has another agenda.
Yeah. And
just start using the oils, check in. I find that the oil that you're attracted to is the one that your body wants. And kids and pets are really good with this.
Okay.
They definitely will smell I'll have a box of oils out, and they'll smell the ones they want. And then I'll ask their parents, well, what issues are going on with them? And the kids have picked out the oils that they need.
That's going to help. That's cool.
I've even did this with a friend's cat, was very interested in the oils. And so I opened the oils, and the ones that it liked, it smelled and smelled and smelled. The ones that I opened that didn't like it, it just kind of backed away like, no. And then went for the next oil that it liked. It was very interesting.
We're going to have to do a test with Cosmo and Cole. Both of them, those guys. Man.
There you go.
Yeah. We're going to take a really quick break, and we'll be right back. And today's show is sponsored by Memer Media Group. Memer Media Group is passionate about helping professionals in the fitness industry expand their influence and businesses beyond the confines of their local community. For the very first time in history, health, wellness, and fitness coaches can make a positive impact and earn an income from anywhere in the world. Check out Memer Media Group at memermediagroup.com. MEEMUR Media Group. And welcome back. All right, so we talked about how you really can't go wrong, other than maybe choosing a really poor quality. So let's go ahead and talk a little more about usage guidelines. Like, how do you use it? I've seen it in diffusers. I've put it on my body. We talked about putting lemon in water.
Sure. All those ways. You can diffuse them topically, and some you can take internally, not all of them. Mm-hmm. And what's right for me may not necessarily be right for you.
Okay.
Let's take lavender, for instance. A lot of people use lavender for sleeping.
Okay.
And they like to put it on because they like the smell. It's very calming, very peaceful. Well, since it's not my favorite smell, the best way for me is to put a couple of drops under my tongue.
Okay.
And most people wouldn't consider that.
Yeah.
And it's not my favorite taste, but it only lasts 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But
that's good.
I tried topically. I tried on the bottom of my feet, which is a great place to put oils because we have a lot of pores on the bottom of our feet. We have reflexology points.
Yeah.
It's a great place to absorb the oils. And that was still too close for my nose.
Interesting. Okay.
So diffusing and did not work out.
Yeah, you got a super sniffer.
Yeah.
That's cool.
With a quality oil, less is more, but more frequent. So a quality oil will be very concentrated, so you only need 1 to 2 drops,
Okay.
but 3 or 4 times a day. And consistency. Don't use it one day and say, oh, okay, well, I did it. It's like that commercial on TV where somebody eats 1 piece of broccoli and they're good. They don't have to have any more vegetables for the rest of their life. It's not this. In fact, speaking of nutrition is the building block of everything that goes on in our body. Exercise and reducing toxin load in our environment. So
that's a great point. Thank you. Because
yes.
I think that sometimes people think that there's one magic bullet, and if they do this one thing, they won't have to do the other things. So if they use oils, they won't have to watch their nutrition. Or if they watch their nutrition, they won't have to exercise. Yeah, it all goes together.
It does. It's all a package, and they're all tools that our body needs. Our sense of smell is 10,000 times more powerful than any sense. And just by smelling the oils, just by opening the bottle and smelling straight from the bottle, it goes right into our limbic system in our brain. And then our brain starts sending messages throughout our body.
That's awesome.
It just happens magically.
Yeah.
That way.
Well, I mean, it really makes sense, and that explains too why like the lavender is known to be calming. So now it's calming everything down. I think we live in this society where we're like overstimulated all the time. So that's really good information.
Yes. And I just think our bodies are magical anyway, so.
It's true. And you know what? That goes right along with the whole entire theme and the name of the show is life begins when you stop chasing skinny. When you start taking care of everything that you need to take care of, that excess weight goes away. You don't have to obsess over it so much. Yeah, right on point. Go ahead.
But I do like diffusing the oils because it also can cleanse the air of airborne pathogens.
Or if you live under an airport.
Especially use lemon because who knows if you're getting some exhaust there.
Yeah.
But also anybody who comes in the room, they're getting a whiff of the oils as well to their lung capacity. So like a baby or pet would have a different lung capacity than an adult. And so everybody gets it to their portion. It's just really a nice way, and it smells good.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's way better. So I'm totally going off script here, but so one of the things that I read about, obviously everybody knows I love my dogs so much. I read that one of the bad things that we can do for our pets is spray Febreze on furniture because it could there are studies that show that it could cause seizures. And the other thing is using air fresheners in our home. And if you think about it, like all of those fake synthetic oils are kind of settling down to your pet's level too. So back to diffusing, it makes the air smell great without being damaging. It's actually helpful.
Exactly. It's cleansing the toxins from your environment instead of adding to.
And masking. All right. Awesome. Cool. This was so interesting. Thank you so much. We have so many show notes for this, including links to where you can buy the oils that Sandy personally uses and recommends. So that's all in the show notes too. And the other thing with buying the oils from Sandy is that she gives the support. So if you have questions, you can ask her. She will answer them. Super knowledgeable, not like, I think everybody has to start somewhere, but what I see is a lot of companies that are trying to just tell everybody, no, you're an expert, you know what you're talking about. And me personally, I like to learn from somebody who's already learned, not from somebody who is learning. I don't want to be somebody's guinea pig. Like, I want somebody to have done the research and be able to tell me the information. So that's what an expert is. So thank you so much, Sandy. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. you.